Hello, and welcome back to the channel. I have definitely been away from the YouTube algorithm for some time. My apologies to anyone who is just sitting on the edge of their seat anticipating another creation or opinion from me. My days have been filled with just taking a step back, as one should do from time to time, and diving into other aspects of life and really looking at what it is that I am attempting to create here online. Because to be honest, there is a lot of spaghetti being thrown at the wall, and I'm just trying to figure out not only what sticks for the people that are drawn to my voice or drawn to my energy, but also what is the correct alignment for me. Because I see a lot of pitfalls in the online space, in the influencer space, in this space where we have this capacity to really project any type of energy or field or wisdom, opinion, whatever it is that we want to say, we're more than welcome to say it. I think that with that comes great power. And I also think that with great power, what is the quote? With great power comes great responsibility. And there have been times where I have felt like I wanted to chime in, give my opinion, give my wisdom on some topic, but I also don't like to chase toxicity and perpetuate toxicity. So a big part of what I am trying to do here on this program is to get us, those of you that are drawn in to my field, thank you for being here, get us to see things from a more even perspective, from a yogic perspective, or what could be the benefit of this specific situation that we are looking at? What can we glean from it for our own personal value, from our own personal walk and, dare I say, mission on this planet? One thing that has come up lately is this controversy that's surrounding this dating coach, this apparently self-proclaimed psychologist, a woman named Sadia Khan. I know about Sadia Khan because I have seen little bits and pieces of what moves through what is known as the Manosphere. I think that having at least a little bit of an understanding of what that world is as a woman, even as a human, is very beneficial. I always find that it is helpful to understand what people are talking about, what are their perspectives, what are the things that are moving through different ethos, even if that is not my ethos. I just feel like this helps to bridge a deeper understanding. The way that might benefit me and my work is that if I meet someone, if I connect with someone, and I can tell that they are getting a lot of their information and their understanding from this one specific ethos, then I will understand how to communicate with them. I'll understand how to make my world and my language make sense to them because I understand the psychology a little bit. I understand the energy field. I understand the frequency of what is moving through that psyche of that human. Some time ago, I would say it's about 5 years ago, that's when I learned about the whole incel situation, the involuntary celibates. This is a very big generalization, by the way, but essentially people who are not actively in relationships, who are not activating their sensuality, their sexuality, they're really not activating their creativity, and then they are all coming together in this specific ethos, and there's a lot of very distorted ideas around men and women, feminine and masculine, how we are rating one another, how we're judging one another. It's just very, very distorted and very confusing. But it is also incredibly entertaining if you can stomach some of what is being shown online. It is definitely not for the light of heart. It's not for the sensitive. There are definitely women around me that are, good friends of mine that could never tolerate those spaces. Why do I tolerate it? I believe I tolerate all types of spaces and angles and perspectives to just try to stand peacefully within it. And again, so I can understand how to communicate to people to hopefully break them out of their distortion and their illusions, and we can rebuild and move forward from a much cleaner, spiritually aligned perspective. So it's a pretty gruesome world, this manosphere. Like anything, there is likely a small percentage where certain rhetoric is very beneficial, and then there's a lot of it is just very toxic. Now, in walks Sadia Khan. Sadia Khan is a very glamorous looking woman, very modest, but also I actually love this style where everything is completely covered, but it's also very tight and form-fitting, very goddessy type of energy, but also, a fair amount of Botox. Maybe her lips are done, but I can't quite tell. It could be very natural for her. Long black hair, just very well kept type of woman. And she comes into the scene somehow and starts to talk about relationships and give this type of dating advice. And everyone in this ethos, I think, is quite put off by her because she's very articulate. She has a beautiful sounding voice. Her sound current is just like honey. She's gorgeous to look at. She's very well mannered. She's not the type of woman that would normally be cast in a lot of these environments, which is this kind of stereotypical, very over-sexualized, very independent, very masculine energy, very confident, OnlyFans type of woman. As well, you have the women that are maybe in the manosphere that are like hating on women and only supporting men. And so you have them, and they're a little more like troll-ish, right? There's like not really a physical sexual attraction with those women. And so when Sadia Khan entered in, I think the whole internet was just like, whoa, like, who is this woman? Who is this beautifully articulate, confident, calm, understands how to have a dialogue, understanding how to have a debate without getting triggered, without losing her cool. And I think that she triggered a lot of the men in the manosphere, which again is very entertaining to watch when this happens. And she apparently is a dating coach for men. I don't know if she works with women. That's kind of all I know about her. And that is just based on my personal perspective. I don't follow her closely. I have seen her in different podcasts. I watched her very recently on the Soft White Underbelly podcast, her and another relationship coach, I think, or relational therapist. It was a man, and it was kind of like a little bit of a debate-ish that they were having. But to be honest, it was very peculiar for me because I think that he really wanted to debate, and she always kind of moved around the debate. She gave her opinion, but then at the end of every opinion that she would give, at the end of every perspective that she would give, she did this thing that was so clever. And she would say, well, I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. What's your opinion? And it just kind of allowed for everything to be very soft because it wasn't this masculine manosphere, I am right, I am correct, this is the way it is. She would give her little dance in her soft honey musical voice, looking beautiful and charming and just being like a lovely person that you would want to be around. And then she would give her statement, give her opinion, her perspective, and then say, oh, but what do you think? As if, maybe I don't really know anything, but you tell me. So it was just this very interesting ping pong. It was an interesting podcast to listen to. And the one thing that did stick out to me was that she spoke to herself as being a very, I think she said, very jealous woman. And it was almost like something in her has not been brought into balance. And I thought that was very interesting because here she is therapizing people, coaching people, being a psychologist to people, and she's able to see within herself that there's something that is deeply unhealed or not in balance, but she's just kind of, it just felt like it was something that she was maybe pushing down. But for me, it was like, wow, like, you know, how much work has she actually done? How many relationships has she actually been in? Because you would think that after a while you would be able to say, well, I used to be a really jealous person, but now I understand how to deal with that. So that was something for me in the process that did seem a little bit funny. But again, I don't bow to this woman. I'm not a follower of hers. I appreciate her when she is there and it is entertaining and it is somewhat educational, and that is that.
Never, ever be with a man that has ever used escorts, sugar babies, massage parlors, any of those things. Never do it to yourself, girls. I promise you'll regret it. Even if you are the escort that is going to marry this guy, trust me, this is a man that pays for validation. It's a man that will pay to feel desired. It's a man that's not willing to work on himself enough to get the women he desires. And more so than anything, it's a man that doesn't look for emotional and spiritual or intellectual connection with a woman. He just looks for what he sexually desires. I know you're going to say, oh, all men have that desire, all that. No, not all men. All losers have that desire. The desire to just have a woman that is just good for them sexually. The biggest red flag is men that pay for sex is they're usually porn addicts. They are absolutely addicted to pornography.
Now, what has happened? What has happened is there has been some text messages, some voice messages. There has just been this reveal of her character that is very exposing to a lack of integrity.
About Sadia Khan, the so-called dating coach who's been making headlines lately. Unfortunately, not for the right reasons. She built her brand around telling women how to find high-value men, preaching discipline, loyalty and respect. But recently, Sadia herself has been exposed, and not in a flattering way. Allegations suggest she hasn't exactly been practicing what she preaches. Reports claim she's been involved as, let's say, a side chick, while publicly promoting herself as a moral guide in relationships.
Text overlay reads, this is a recorded conversation between Sadia Khan after she was discovered to be the side piece of an engaged man. His fiance confronted her. The following screenshots are texts that Sadia and the cheating fiance shared.
What are you going to do about it? I'll stuck it to have an attitude, and I can do it today if I want to.
Go on.
And I can do it on your wedding day and your birthday.
Okay, well,
and
we'll
the days
see.
After.
Okay.
I've been in situations where he's been with you in a social setting. He'll call me after.
As well as now this has been exposed, people are starting to ask more questions. And people are finding information that is pointing to her not actually being qualified to therapize people. She's not actually a psychologist.
The only reason I don't have a DHA license is because when I first qualified, I did. It expired. I didn't renew it because I was now online and I wasn't working in clinics. And in clinics, you need a DHA license.
I guess my question is, have you ever really had a DHA license in Dubai?
I started applying for it, but then my career took off.
That's not what she said. She said that it expired.
Her eligibility expired.
Oh, okay.
But that's okay because it's still not good for her because she emailed somebody in 2023.
This is my DHA license. I need an official apology from yourself and copy of your license.
So she used to claim that she had, but she just said she never got one. She started applying, but she didn't get it. You see this email where it says this is my DHA license?
Mm-hmm.
This is the number that she had in that email about the DHA.
Mm-hmm.
QTS number again.
Mm-hmm.
Qualified teacher status. What the fuck does that have to do with DHA?
No, it doesn't.
You see how she does the same thing?
Yeah.
When asked about something specific, she uses a number from a completely different certificate.
Yeah.
That's the running thing. She's a pathological liar in that she will just crisscross all of her lies to avoid talking about what you want to talk about.
But on her LinkedIn, on all of her, information and the way that she's projected herself online, she is saying that she is a psychologist, that she does have these qualifications. And there was another situation where there is a video of her giving a speech and she's walking across a stage, a platform, and you can tell that she's used one of those apps that makes your waist look smaller. And so the walls behind her are all like curvy because she's basically sucked herself in. I think it's fine every now and again to like use things to help you just look a little bit better, like better lighting and better makeup, and you know, we have that capability, or maybe some type of filter that isn't completely distorted. But the slimming of the waist goes against this woman who is projecting herself as so confident, and also, I believe, you know, preaching to other women to say, just be who you are, just be honest about who you are. Now, one of the things that is like the heart of a lot of the controversy is that these messages and what they're exposing is basically she is dating someone who is engaged to get married. So she is partaking in something that is just not good and completely goes against the apparent wisdom that she is giving to men. And on top of that, she's apparently charging $8,000 an hour or $12,000 an hour. And so it's just like all of these little things that are really making the internet upset. I'm not so upset about it. And the reason why I want to talk about this today is more so to look at this projection of who we think we are. And our power to convince people, our power to convince the world that we are an esteemed yoga teacher, that we are a prolific healer, that we are a psychologist that can work in this relational matter, that we are somebody that can step into the lives of other people and somehow we can make their world better. And we convince ourselves that we can do it, and we convince you, the outside world, the internet, that we are this amazing person. The real thing that we're doing is we're just damaging ourselves, we're damaging people, we are hurting people, we are damaging more than just ourselves, more than just the people that we are potentially working with. We are damaging the people that have actually done the work to earn those titles. We're damaging a whole industry, and it just doesn't make sense. And this is why, in stepping away from my process of creating whatever it is that I'm creating here online, testing out all of these different social media apps, and really looking at the paradigm of influencing, the paradigm of being brought into a conversation or choosing to jump into a conversation, and that picks up online, and all of a sudden it picks up steam. And now you are trying to keep up with the internet. You're trying to keep up with the algorithm, mainly because of money, right? Because of views, because of clicks, because of likes, and all that the internet can bring us. And I wouldn't be surprised if Miss Sadia Khan was on her way in her career path, right? Like working at whatever level she was honestly working at as a psychologist, as a teacher, these things that she's claimed to do. I wouldn't doubt that on her way forward that she inserted herself into some conversation online, and her energy, her look, moving into that ethos, it just completely started to spin. Like it's difficult to look away from her. And she's fascinating, right? She's fascinating. She's beautiful and she's articulate, and she's inserted herself inside this incel manosphere, I hate women type of ethos. Maybe they don't hate women. Maybe they're just deeply frustrated. Whatever it is, it's so distorted. And now right? And she probably put herself in the same way when I made that video a couple months ago about our friend Aubrey Marcus and his shenanigans. It's the best video so far on my channel. I'm still getting views from it. It's like kind of what's keeping me going. Thanks guys. But I had to take a step back. I made the first video. I made the second video because that second video about the God Bomb ceremony was very important to me, given my experience and my relationship to the world of plant medicines and healing in that way. That video did even better than the first video. And there was a temptation to come back in And I even see it in the other creators that also got a little boost from that specific algorithm. And I can see them today still kind of working with that same topic. And it's been like 2 months, and I would imagine that all that we needed to say has been said. But in these online communities, and it gets very toxic, like that's what happens, that's what gossip is. And we start to just like churn it all up, and we, commiserate around, somebody who's failed and what they're doing. And we just like can't stop talking about it and perpetuating it and being in that energy. So of course, that is exactly what's happening with Sadia Khan right now. And I am very consciously using this as a moment to say, hey, well, here I am with my brilliant perspective, which is this, right? Which is ultimately this. And this is what it comes down to. Someone on TikTok was saying something in regards to Sadia Khan coaching, how much money she was charging. That was the whole point of her post on TikTok. But you know how she opened her TikTok? She opened it with, when I was 22, I wanted to be a coach. So I hired this coach, and I hired that coach, and I hired this coach, and I hired that coach, and da-da-da-da-da. And she went on her story. And I was like, whoa, 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 wait. The whole issue with the therapizing, coaching, helping you, self-help, healing your traumas, all of this that we're seeing online, the whole issue with it is that people lack actual legitimate experience in what it is that they're doing. Now, in order to be a psychologist, that is a certain path. That is a certain path. That is deep education. I have a friend who's getting her PhD right now in some type of childhood psychology. And that PhD is no joke. It is an earned title, like blood, sweat, tears, your life to earn that. A coach, you can become a coach overnight. So let's talk about coaching. Because coaching is cringe, we know this. Coaching, like even for somebody who has like the capacity to coach, I cannot even put the word coaching anywhere in any of my copy. I'm like, I need a new word for what it is that I do, which is to help people, right? And to use certain tools that I give you so that you can create a better life. But the coaching has become so distorted. The coaching has become this joke. Anyone that sees the word coach is just like in your title or in your offering. You want to coach people online and you want to share that on social media. It's like, it's hit or miss, let's say that. But there is a big portion, I think, of humanity that just kind of does a big eye roll. Why? Because you're 22 years old. You're 22 and you want to become a coach. When I first heard about coaching in its more, I think, traditional sense of the word, it was presented in a way where you could start to coach people if you were in a transition from your career that you spent a lot of your life investing in your career, and you want to end that career, and you don't know exactly what you want to do, but you're kind of done working for this system. What you could do is you could take all of your skills that you earned through that investment, through that time, through that energy, through that legitimate experience, and then you could begin to coach people, the people that want to be in that world. You want to leave that world, you coach people coming into it. And that gives you a little financial freedom. And maybe you build a coaching business that's just around that specific ethos. Okay, that seems very fair. That seems very reasonable. What you have there is someone who has legitimate experience. So I learned about this word, and then it was like, oh, okay, coaching. It was kind of like out there in the ethos. And then I don't know what happened, but all of a sudden, all of my friends who are like fringe, artistic, creative, kind of doing yoga, kind of doing a little meditation, going to Burning Man, creating this, creating that, doing an odd job here and there, not really in a career path, all of these people became coaches overnight. I'm going to coach you. I'm going to help you. I'm going to give you what you need to help move you forward. And then fast forward a few years later, and it was like the same group of people started to become business coaches. They started to become business coaches, and they don't even have the experience of running an actual business. But they are going to help you put your business together because they're going to coach you in doing it. This is the issue. This is the problem. That is a root that we really want to pull out because it's not okay. If you are wanting to coach women around their menstrual cycle, right? Their moon time. As a 40-something-year-old woman, I'm probably not going to come to the 20-year-old that wants to try to educate me about my cycle. The same way, if I'm going to have a baby and I'm looking for someone to educate me around birthing, I'm probably not going to go to the person who has never had a baby. I'm going to go to the person that's had the baby, that's had the experience. And I'm probably going to go to multiple people to try to figure out what advice resonates with me. Part of the problem is that we are just so hungry for success. We just want to be our best, highest, most bountiful, most successful, most radiant self. And a lot of times, right, 20s, 30s, you're just scrambling to try to put your life together, try to make a decision, and you have a lot of energy to put yourself now online. When I was in my 20s, the online space wasn't really popping like it is right now. So there's like real grit that was put into the career that I have today. There was real authenticity that was put between myself and the people that I was teaching and the relationships that I would create that have now been over 20 years that I've had some of the same students, some of the same clients. So that's some real time situation that's going on. But I had the energy to be very consistent. I had the energy to show up and to teach multiple classes a day and to teach like beyond anything that I would be able to do now at the age that I'm at and just with the bandwidth that I have. So if you take that energy that you have as a younger person, you're able to just really perpetuate the internet, right? And just post and create and conjure and create and conjure until you are now convinced that you are this like amazing, impressive business owner. You're this amazing, impressive coach when really you have no experience. Maybe you have experience in hiring a coach and going through I'll teach you how to build your coaching program in 9 weeks type of coaching program that gets sold to you, and you're going to take it and you're going to reinvent it and regurgitate it and then put it out in the world. And this is just kind of a thing that's happening. So do we want to participate in that? How do we want to participate in that? So we can say like, okay, Sadia Khan is this fraud. And this is what, people are really perpetuating right now, that she's this big fraud. She lied. She's not really the woman that she says she is. She doesn't really have the experience. She doesn't have the education, apparently. She doesn't have she's not really representing herself truthfully because of this incident that has now been released. Mind you, apparently this incident is from 2021, which, that's 4 years ago now. So who knows what was happening in this person's life. And I don't really know how she was presenting herself in 2021. Regardless, a lot of these men that are complaining about her are kind of doing the same thing. They just don't want men to now listen to her, which is fine, right? Like everyone can make their own decision around that. But it's like, for those of us in the wellness industry, for those of us that want to help people, it's just important to recognize the qualifications that we actually have. This is how Aubrey Marcus gets into his God bomb ceremony. He's not qualified to do that. His wife isn't qualified to do that. None of that has been passed to them. There's no initiation there. I'm sorry, going to the jungle and drinking medicine is not that particular initiation which grants you the knowledge to hold a sacred space. It's not how it works. So all of that is ego. And so if we are not honest about our lack of experience, we're going to end up hurting people, and we're going to end up hurting ourselves, and we're going to end up hurting the industry that we so want to be a part of. Now, this is very difficult when you are trying to make that move, right, from the career that you are unsatisfied with into the next phase of your life. Instead of leaning into this career, this place where you spent a lot of time and energy and figuring out how to teach from what you actually know, you're deciding that you're now a coach, that you're now a therapist, that you're now the perfect person to help people heal and get better and understand themselves more deeply. But you have none of that experience. And I see this all the time. And I see this with people that I love, with people that I see here on the island where I like them as a person, but they're trying to build a business that they aren't really that qualified for. They maybe have a certificate here and there. They've put themselves into some experiences. They feel that their life is accelerating in a certain way, and that's very exciting. And again, they're young. They have the energy to kind of constantly be churning all of this out. But at the end of the day, they don't have the knowledge because they don't have the actual experience. It's just the way it is. There's not really a workaround. If I were to look at anyone online that I respect, that I appreciate their knowledge and their wisdom, 10 times out of 10, it's likely going to be somebody that is older than me. Even that Diary of a CEO, he's got this huge podcast and he's so influential and he's done this great job, and I have nothing personally against him, but I watched his interview with Esther Perel, who is perfectly aligned for what we're talking about here, because she is the person that I would listen to. This is a woman who is classy, consistent. She's got some age, she's got some real experience and some real wisdom. And if you watch that interview, he completely exposes his age. He completely exposes his naivety and what he actually does not know at all about relationships. I would go back and watch that, or watch it if you haven't, because it's very compelling, because she is experienced. She is so experienced in the field, in life, in all of the couples that she's worked with, and really understanding the dynamics and the nuances of relationship. And he has ideas. He has an intellectual understanding, and he can articulate himself in a certain way. And he's great at what he's doing, which is just a podcast, and it looks clean and clear and it's consistent, and that's great entertainment, and sometimes some good knowledge and nuggets are in there. So I'm not bashing him at all. It's just something to observe, that this is a human being that doesn't really have much experience. Because isn't he super young? Isn't he the young podcaster that's changing the game, or, something like that? I don't really know. He's yeah. The positive side for someone like you, like me, when you're in this age bracket of being in your 40s, even though it seems like the manosphere wants to really, crush us and convince us that we will be super lonely and unhappy and miserable if we're in our 40s and we're not in a relationship, or we don't have a specific nuclear style family. The positive thing about aging is that you do have wisdom. The positive thing is that you have some true experience. I've said it in my video about moving here to Thailand. I moved here because of my experience on my resume. right? It wasn't just me graduating from my first yoga teacher training and wanting to go out into the world and be a teacher and landing this amazing job. And all of a sudden I'm like this amazing guru. Like, no, I worked for, 15 years before I got that job offer. I worked very consistently. And when they saw my resume with everything that I've been doing in that time, it blew their minds. They flew me out. They gave me the job. My life has changed forever because of my experience, because of my wisdom, because of my capacity to be authentic in my true experience. So if you are someone that is, wanting to better humanity, like really think about what it is that you have been doing and the information, like why does that put you in a position to be the person to help others? If what you want to do is coach, wellness coaching, relationship coaching, it's like, well, what is the success of your relationships? What is your track record? What is your experience with relationships? Because I can give amazing relational advice, and I always say, don't take my advice because I am not in a relationship and I'm not somebody who's been in a lot of relationships. But I can see things, I understand the psyche, and I understand relationships from being adjacent to many different, very successful and harmonious relationships. So I have some ideas, I have some intelligence, but I don't have the depth of intelligence that someone like Esther Perel would have, right? Somebody who has been deeply involved in not only her own relational world, but working so deeply for many years, decades, with couples. I don't have that. The same thing with astrology. I can use astrology on a very functional, basic level, and that's kind of as far as I've gotten with it, and that is very helpful for me. That works, and I can share that information with other people. I can share the symbolism, I can share the energy, I can make a little bit of sense of like what is happening with the planets in that house and how they're interacting with each other. And I'm happy to share that information with people. But I always say, if you want a reading, you need to go to an adept astrologer. Like, why am I going to sit here and fake that I just have this like grasp of the stars? And this has happened, my friends. This is why astrology is like so blown up now, because there's so many people that just decided to fake it. And it was just the audacity, the audacity of like the younger generation being able to be online and being able to project themselves in whatever way they felt that they were. And this is a theme in humanity, right? If we feel we are a certain way, we now want the world around us to tell us that our feelings are correct. I feel that I am this person, and so I feel, therefore I am. I feel that I'm a great astrologer, and I feel like I can do this. I feel that I can have this type of business, and the internet tells me so because I'm able to create it and I'm able to project it. But at the end of the day, you don't actually have the experience. You don't actually have the truth. You're an imposter. You are just pretending, and you're mostly doing it so that you can get money. So Sadia Khan, she doesn't actually have the experience. She has a little bit of knowledge around psychology. Like, I believe that she has that. I don't think that she had the intent, just like anyone, to be nefarious, to lead people astray. But I'm sure that it was very fun for her to see what happened when she stepped into that manosphere and to use her magnetism and her energy field and her articulation and just like the kind of queenness of a woman, the way that she holds herself. I'm sure it was a lot of fun to step into that. I'm sure it was a lot of fun to receive so much momentum. She was saying, that's her career just blasted off. It just took off. And instead of maybe being a bit more on the side of, how do I come correct here? Let me get online and start doing my psychology PhD, or whatever the requirements were. Instead of really going into that and trying to refine it, she probably just got caught up in content creation, being on podcasts, being in the ethos, being on the trend of the topic and just spinning it and spiraling. I have compassion. I hope that she gets through this journey. I'm excited to see how she responds to this. I hope that we all can learn something from it. I definitely feel like I am learning from it. I feel like I'm learning from the internet at hand. I am going to share this. It's a little bit maybe adjacent to this specific topic, but it is something that has been sitting with me for the past couple weeks as I'm trying to understand what it is that I want to project online. How do I want to jump into these conversations? And I think that TikTok is a very interesting place to explore that because it is such a powerful algorithm. You can have opinions about all sorts of things, right? The algorithm takes you to like so many different places and it brings up so much inside of you. I can comment on so many different types of topics, whether it's something relationship, whether it's about living and moving to Thailand, whether it's about, you know, whatever it is, because it's just like so random on there. I feel like an influencer, a typical influencer, is somebody who is constantly moving with the trend. So we're commenting on the movie that just came out. We're commenting on the Netflix documentary. We're giving our opinion on Sadia Khan. We are giving our opinion on this. We're responding to whatever is in the ethos because the ethos is the algorithm. If we can get into that algorithm, people will see us and then, oh my God, they're looking at us. I have all these views. I have to keep it up. Thanks everyone for the views. Like, let me try to keep this going. This is where that perpetuation, right? Then you start to perpetuate all of the toxicity. Now, there is this word creator that I think is a little bit interesting. Maybe it's a little bit triggering also, because when I think of creativity, I think of art. I think of wanting to really create something. I don't think that every creator is an artist per se. The artists, the true creatives, are the ones that create the ethos, that create the conversation, that create some type of vibrational impact for humanity. And I think that that is why art is so important, why understanding perspective is so important through the lens of art, right? Through the lens of empathizing or catharsism, these types of things, the pure arts and artful experiences, whether it's visionary art or it's a theater piece or it's a song, right? It's like art has a vibrational tone to it. And that vibrational tone has the capacity to really shift humanity's consciousness. So when I think about like influencer and creator, I'm thinking creative in the sense of I want to create something that is going to shift your soul. I'm going to create something that's going to shift your experience. But an influencer is like, I'm just going to talk about that thing that everyone's talking about. And I'm going to give my perspective on what everyone's talking about. I'm going to kind of influence in this way. And that's why the whole influencer thing is like very repetitive and right. And you can try those things. You can try to like create those things. And I'm definitely doing it just to see how people respond, what it is. But ultimately, what is my goal? The goal that I have is probably going to be a much longer road to any type of financial success than just perpetuating the toxicity and kind of following along with what is trending and what is cool. Because I've never been the cool girl, right? Believe it or not, I've always been the one to kind of go a little bit against the grain, to kind of stand a little bit off to the side, because I have vision and perspective, and I don't want to do the thing that everyone else is necessarily doing. And on the other side of that, I have to humble myself because you do have to participate in a certain way. So this is what I've been doing, is just contemplating, like, how do I create on these platforms and how do I use my innate power of creation, because that is in there, like this pure vessel of creation. How do I have fun with it? How do I keep it consistent? How do I stay authentic? And how do I create that bridge of connection between myself and any of you who might be tuning in at this point? I don't know. Thank you if you're here. How do I perpetuate that? perpetuate that authenticity and that actual connection so that I don't find myself in a moment where all of a sudden there is this reveal of who I am not, when what I'm really trying to do here is be who I am. So if you are out there and you are also kind of working on this with whatever you're doing, your business or, your voice, I think we are in this position where we should take great responsibility. We should take great responsibility in the thoughts and the vision and what it is that we want to bring humans into. If people are going to watch or listen to your podcast or follow you, like, how are you up-leveling humanity? What are you doing to help on some level from an honest place? And what are you qualified for? How are you qualified to do that? And your qualification might just be like the podcasters that are out there. Well, I'm qualified to sit in a room and ask questions and just have a conversation. And that's fine. That's like very low pressure. You're not claiming to be anyone or anything in particular. And I think that there is obviously a space for that. And then if there's like another angle, right? Are you really qualified? Are you, as a 20-something-year-old, as a 30-something-year-old, as somebody who had a career in fashion their entire life, are you really qualified to now be like a Reiki master because you did your Reiki master training in 3 days? Can we just, can we be real about that? Like, really? I mean, I know you're special and I know you have a beautiful energy and you probably are very intuitive and you have some lineage that you now understand more deeply because of where you're at. But truly, like, what are you doing? What are you doing? You're just damaging. You're just damaging and you don't even know it. You don't even know it. And that's just like a whole other talk to go into, because I'm surrounded by a lot of people on this island who are self-proclaimed healers, cacao shamans, medicine people that lack a certain level of experience. They have very big hearts. They don't want to do any harm. They want to feel the collective and they want to feel a lot of love, but they don't realize what is the cost of that. They don't realize it because they've never had the actual training of being in relationship with an elder, with a teacher, to say, this is how it could damage you. This is how it could damage others. And again, we are online, so we are just being praised for who we are and what we're creating, and everyone likes us. And so we don't have time to listen to somebody telling us otherwise. Ooh, that is a whole other topic. I'm going to close it there because we're almost at an hour. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. Thank you. Have a beautiful day. Much love and many blessings.